Good morning, all. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, welcome. Wake up, everybody. How you
Uh, that
doing today, Mike?
that was me miming Broderick Jones' pass blocking ability.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Two Dumb Yinzers. This is episode 590.
Yeah, my man.
590. Oh man, we got a lot of things we're going to talk about today. We got a full show. Welcome back. It's Monday morning. I hope everybody had a great weekend. We had some games over the weekend we're going to talk about today. Hey, Mike, do you remember when you're a kid, you're playing football, whether you playing in the backyard or there's a field that you and all your friends went to, or
Hmm.
and you get the fourth down and you'd always have to yell out, "Are you punting or grunting?"
Yes.
You remember that?
Yeah, that's one of the few things that has like crossed over in this area from state to state, man. Punting or
Yeah,
grunting.
punting or grunting. You punting or grunting because you had to know. Because if they were punting, then you had to send your guy,
Yep.
your
Yeah.
guy back. But if you were grunting, then you knew you had to get ready to play defense and try to stop them on fourth.
Well, now this right here, you know how we're all complaining now we have to declare for an onside kickoff or not. We've been doing this our entire life. We never we did, I just
Yeah,
now realized
it
this.
isn't
We've
like
been
this was
doing
just sprung on us.
Yeah, we've been conditioned for this since like birth.
Mm. That's what you should have to do after every touchdown. You have to yell, "You punting or grunting?" Good morning,
I'll
everybody.
one of these old white officials out there. They have decided to grunt.
They have decided to grunt. Now we're going to challenge the grunt. Uh, hey, I think about this Steeler team, what I'm seeing right now, second weekend, preseason, Buffalo. I don't know whether to start sounding the alarm because we might be in some trouble, or I don't know how much of this just isn't being, exposed because we start regular season in a couple of weeks and you're just trying to get a feel for your players and see what's going
Mm-hmm.
on out there, and you're not exposing a whole lot of what it is that you're going to do strategically. So I'm kind of in the middle. I think we're a little bit better than what we're showing. I like to hope so. um but what I'm seeing so far, Mike, as I said, it's difficult to tell.
Yeah.
It's difficult to tell if they're just I don't want to say, but they're just not that good. Or
Yeah.
maybe they have potential to be a good football team.
Yeah.
They should certainly be an upgrade over last year. I think no matter which way you slice it, they should in fact be better than they were last year. So I'm kind of I'm kind of in that middle area. I don't know what to think yet. I got to see this Detroit game. I got to see what goes on with these injuries aren't looking too good.
No.
We lost a guy for the season. We lost another guy for 2 to 4 weeks. We'll get into that here shortly. Um, but again, I just wonder how much of this is a little bit of bluff. We're going to give you the vanilla play. We're going to give you basic. So we don't want to put ourselves out there. I get that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or is the fact that our starting quarterbacks have not been able to produce a point
Yeah.
in like eight quarters of football.
Yeah. That's concerning right there, but also the offensive line play is not helping them out. It definitely didn't help them out Saturday night. And then, uh, not to jump ahead, but that deep pass that Fields had in the end zone, if that's George Pickens or Brandon Ayuk, they keep running through the play. They don't hesitate at the top of the route, and it's hit in stride. So there's variables going either way, but it wasn't looking good. It reminded me of last season's regular season offense. We were struggling to get yards, struggling to get points. But like you said, it's that a lot of we're just trying out every single play we have in live action to see what we have, trying different things in different scoring situations to see what works and what doesn't work. Because I know there was a couple run plays we ran, one from the one to the left, one to the right. It's the same play. It was reversed. We ran it one way, didn't work, ran it the second time. Najee had that nice 10-yard run. So, is he just, or the offense just trying to figure out what's going to work? And then players not playing up to their potential is hurting the team too.
Yeah. I think it's a little bit all of that, Mike.
Yeah.
Uh, first I wanted to say this. I wanted to say, it was going to be a poor offensive day because of our offensive line. The first couple of drives you've seen Russell Wilson get sacked 3 times, and I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be a problem. This is what we're going to be focusing on. You're plug and playing different guys here, putting guys there. Broderick Jones, this injuries, that. But as the second quarterback, Justin Fields, comes in at the end of the first half and then the whole entire way through the second half, yes, there was breakdowns on the line. However, they were definitely manageable. He did take a sack. Justin Fields did. Uh, but through the course of the game, I didn't see it affecting their running game that much. I didn't see it affecting, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
again, I'm still still trying to fill this team out. Mike, this game last year, I think I even said it to you during the game. At halftime, the Steelers were up 17-0 on this
Yeah.
Buffalo Bills team
Yeah.
against Josh Allen and company, who did play last year.
Hmm.
And this year we were tied at 3-3 at half. I just hope that isn't any kind of indication that we somehow backslid, because if we backslid and we, in fact, are not as good as we were last year after the changes we made,
Yeah.
this is going to be a long season.
It's going to be a huge problem, which is like, speaking of the offensive line, that's the biggest head scratcher to me because this offensive line minus Mason,
Cool.
the center, Mason Cole. Yeah. Thank you. This is the same offensive line that we threw out there last year in the second half. More Siumalu replacing Mason with Zach Frazier, Daniels, and Broderick Jones at right tackle. That was the offensive line that was opening up all these huge running lanes last year and giving our quarterbacks time in the second half to pass. And Broderick Jones in particular, but the rest of the guys too, did not look in sync. Like, you guys have all played together. You have a better center in there. Center pro improved from last week to this week. So that's the head scratcher right there, because we saw the way this line could play last year, especially once we put Broderick Jones in at right tackle. They look like a competent NFL line. Last night they looked confused and lost.
It almost took you back to the preseason 2 years ago where they were
Yeah,
blocking each other.
yeah,
They just weren't blocking each other last night or on
yeah. It
Saturday.
was just like missed assignments, not getting to the assignment on time on some of those run plays early on. But like, like I'm worried about the offense line, but I'm not that worried because we saw what they could do last year. It's the same O line.
When I'm worried about, Mike, I'm worried about quarterback play.
Yep.
And what I say, I think that Pittsburgh expected a big boost when bringing these two guys in. You figure you bring one guy in who was pretty good in his career, another
Mm-hmm.
guy who has potential. We can't miss. If one of them don't play that well, then we're going to go with the other guy and we'll be okay. I've yet to see. Listen, if I had to pick one of the two guys from Saturday night to play for me, Justin Wilson would have been my guy.
Justin Wilson, you're
Justin Fields,
combining
I'm sorry.
the
And why I say that is because the Russell Wilson experiment reminded me a lot of Kenny Pickett.
yeah,
Everything that we complained, excuse me, that Kenny did last year, Russell Wilson went out and did.
yeah,
He didn't throw the ball. He looked bad in the pocket. He kind of he did he even throw the ball downfield? I don't know. I think that one time he threw it down the middle of the field, and we freaked out because
yeah.
it actually happened. But again, are we just seeing what they want us to see, or are we in big trouble? Because again, we were expecting some kind of boost from this.
Mm-hmm.
But if you bring in two guys that you're going to get not as as good as production as you had with the quarterback room we
Yeah.
had last year, that's a big concern, Mike. So my question is, are we seeing preseason Steelers, or are we seeing a struggling Steeler team that's going to be looking for their identity through half of the season like they were the past couple of years?
I think if they don't, they need to settle on one of these quarterbacks. And I think you're right. I think it needs to be Justin Fields. They're going to struggle because Fields gives you that dual threat with his legs and his arm. Yeah, he's more turnover prone, but he's also more prone to cause the big play with his arm and with his legs.
And that's the only thing that's coming down to with me is he
Yeah.
does have potential to make a big play any given down. And I do like that. Don't get me wrong. I don't think that you can build your team around that specifically, but if you have that on your team
Mm-hmm.
within your game plan and what it is you do. I think that it could be very, very, very productive for the Steelers offense. I liked seeing him take off like that. There was many times during that second half of the game where he did, and I was like, I was really feeling it. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, now we know what it feels like to have that guy, but
Yeah.
there's still so many other things that you have to be able to do, and so many other things that the Steelers
Yeah.
have to do moving forward. Again, we have one game left. We go to Detroit this coming Saturday, 1 o'clock p.m. is that game. That will be the final game of the preseason. Then the Steelers will have a week off, and then they will be down to Atlanta to start the season, Mike. So they're running out of time to try to get this new this new game plan, this new idea, this new strategy that they're trying to implemented. And I don't know. I'm kind of confused. I wish that I had a better grasp on what it is that
Yeah.
exactly the Steelers were doing, but it's hard right now because again, I just keep kind of falling back into that. Man, they look a lot like they did last year,
Yeah.
and then you're thinking new offense, new offensive coordinator, new players. It can't be. It can't possibly be, can it?
Yeah. It's looking the same, just different names and places. It's like rearranged.
Like, how
It's
do
like they
you do
rearranged the
this?
deck chairs on the Titanic, is what they was what it's feeling like right now. And yeah, like the offense is starting to become predictable. Throw on first down, run on second
Yes,
down, throw on third down. Don't be afraid to throw. You know,
right.
because I do like the throwing on first down, that keeps the defense honest, but we don't pick up any yardage and then we go right back to a run play. They're keyed up on it, ready to go. Then we do a play action on third down. Their defense is keying on it. That's being my big complaint is the sequence of play calling. Now is that just something him just tinkering in the preseason? Like, I want to see us pass. I want to see us run from this situation. So you, because we haven't had a nice sustained drive really, except I think maybe in week one. So he hasn't had a chance to to dial up these long drives, mix in the play calling the way he wants it. So maybe he's just using it. You know what? I'm just gonna figure out scoring situation down and distance. Does this play work for can I have this play in my back pocket for week 12 in this type of situation to catch a defense off guard? I don't know. I'm hoping that's what he's thinking, because if this is the offense he's going to run out there week one, throw, get nothing, run, get nothing, and hope for a third down, we're in for a long season.
I got to say this. I really felt before this game. I really felt before the Nate Herbig injury. Of course, Nate Herbig tore his rotator. He's out for the season.
Ouch.
I really thought that you should throw Zach Frazier in there and just let him and let him play.
Yeah.
I mean that's your center. That's kind of the mindset of these offensive linemen. Anywhere they're just tough guys. Throw him in there, let him play football. He's going to figure it out, and it's going to work itself out on the line, especially from your leader on the line, your center. So this wasn't that wasn't devastating. I don't think by losing Nate Herbig. It's
No.
devastating that you lost the body
Yeah, for
because
depth.
you know what I mean. Um, However, let me read some numbers, Mike. Let's get some numbers off from the game. We'll talk more about this as we go here. The Steelers.
Hold on, real quick, Brian,
Yeah,
on the board. Derpy takes more plays off than TJ Watt.
you ain't kidding.
that
And I even had another. I had a
that
big
is
surprise
top
for
tier.
today, but you know what? I'll get back to the surprise in a minute. Mike. So here's some numbers. Of course, the Steelers lost 9-3. They now sit at 0-2 in preseason. The Buffalo Bills are 1-1. Justin Fields goes 11 for 17 for 92 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Russell Wilson goes 8 for 10 for 47 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, which aren't terrible numbers. Don't get me wrong. 8 for 11 for 92 and 8 for 10 or 11 for 17 for 92, 8 for 10 for 47. That's not terrible. I don't hate that for preseason. On the ground, Justin Fields does lead the Steelers in rushing. He has 8 carries for 42 yards, is second in the game in rushing. Perrine has 6 carries for 20 yards. In your starters, Najee Harris goes 4 for 17 yards. Jalen Warren goes 1 for 1 yard. And Patterson goes 1 for -1.
Oof.
Your receivers look like this. Des Fitzpatrick has 2 catches for 32 yards. Connor Hayward, 2 catches for 20 yards. And Van Jefferson, 3 catches for 19 yards. I saw a moment of Van Jefferson that I almost blew my brains out during the game. There
Did
was
he run
one
backwards?
he did run backwards. I had the gun loaded. I mean, like I was that. No, Mike, he caught the ball. He, you know what? He looked. He thought that he could gain more by going
Yeah.
backwards, as DJ did, of course.
Yeah.
But it took you back, Area. I was not thrilled. And here's another concern I have. Let's say that George Pickens goes down, and you're running a Fitzpatrick, Quez Watkins, Van Jefferson receiver room. See, this is why making a move this
Yeah.
offseason for a receiver was important. Or let's just say George Pickens, does something stupid. I can't imagine that would happen, but let's say George Pickens does something stupid and he gets himself a game suspended.
Yeah.
And now you're dealing again with Fitzpatrick, Watkins,
Scotty Miller.
Scotty Miller, and Van Jefferson.
Woo.
And I got to be honest, I would be more confident with J.R. Plumlee than a couple of these guys at that position. But Mike, they got to do something. They have a couple weeks here till the season starts. I feel that you have to get another body. And at this point, let me ask you this: would you rather not bring anybody in, or would you be okay with bringing Juju Smith-Schuster to fill the spot?
Oh God, I think Juju is. Some of these guys might be better overall right now than Juju is. And he's just so injury prone. He's not what he once was.
So you think that it would be better not to even make a move
Yeah.
than
Oh
it would
yeah.
be to bring Juju back?
Oh yeah. 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 His career's done and over with.
Because I guarantee after Brandon Ayuk seen what happened Saturday,
Oh yeah.
he went running back to John Lynch.
I was surprised that we didn't see it early this morning West Coast time that Brandon Ayuk kicked down the doors and signed a contract.
I think it is a long shot now. Whereas of Friday, I thought we still had a decent shot. And
Yeah.
I got to be honest, it wasn't even because of the results of this game. I'm starting. It's starting to feel dismal with this Brandon Ayuk thing.
Yeah.
I'll be very surprised if we could pull him at this point. It's getting close, man. We're getting close to the season. Something's got to give.
Yeah. Either way, it just needs to get resolved. And San Fran's not in any hurry. They hold all the cards. So if he sits out, that's like okay. They can argue that he didn't have a year of service, and boom, we can another year of contract control, franchise tag his ass. So yeah, they're in no hurry whatsoever.
Let me go down a little bit more of these numbers, Mike. On the defensive side of the ball, Mark Robinson led the way with 4 tackles. I thought he looked pretty good out there, Mike. I
Yeah,
thought
he did.
He was moving around good. I think he looked like a leader to a couple points in the game. So from game 1 to game 2, I felt a huge improvement. Whether it was upstairs, between the ears, whatever it was, keep it up because he definitely looked better. Also, Mike, Nick Herbig, he had 2 tackles. He had 2 assisted tackles, and he had a 1.5 sacks. Keanu Benton had 2 assisted tackles and a half a sack. Also, this German fellow Weischoff, he had a tackle and a sack. And then finally, Miles Killebrew, he had the lone turnover with the interception. Kick return, Mike Perrine had 2 returns for 45 yards. J.R. Plumlee had 2 returns for 43 yards. On the punt return, Calvin Austin III, who had 4 returns for 43 yards, and Scotty Miller had 1 return for 13. Oz goes 1 for 2 with a 43-yard long. He missed a field goal early on. And finally, my player of the game. If I'm giving a game ball, and not only because his punts look so good, and not only because he's consistent, but because of the difference he's going to make. Your offense automatically, your defense automatically is in a better position because you have a punter like this. You're playing field position, which obviously the Steelers are going to have to play as the field position game this year because they don't seem like they're going to come out flying high overnight. Field position is going to be a big thing. Cameron Johnston putting the ball where he put the ball. Mike, he averaged 60 yards. I think the first 4 punts he had 65 yards, 60 yards, 63. I mean, it was insane. We got our punter. There's no 2 ways about that. And he helps, Mike, and that helps. When you're putting your 3 parts of the game together, your offense, your defense, and your special teams, that helps so much having that guy boost special teams to that next level.
That is huge too, and it also helps. It can help the offense too because now they don't have to play scared on like a fourth. Like hey, if we take a sack here, hold on the ball just a little bit, we trying to make a play on fourth down, you don't have to worry about, someone shanking a 20-yard punt to give them even worse field position. So you get sacked a little bit. This guy's going to go out there and boom punts 55, 60 yards. So that can actually free up your offense, free up the offensive play calling too, knowing, hey, if we, want to take a deep shot that might take a couple seconds extra long to develop, if we get the sack, we got this guy here that can boom him, pin him deep. We got our defense that can get him back and get us the ball back in a good field position to move on from there. Special teams, it's huge, man. And this guy right here, he might be the team MVP by the end of the
Well,
year.
he wins my game ball for yesterday.
Oh,
for Saturday.
easily.
Easily. Mike, I mean, with the punting, you got to have a decent punter. I mean, come on, it's a given. It's almost like a field goal kicker. You have to have that position.
Yeah.
If you're losing games with the field goal team, with the punting team, I mean, these are easy fixes. You got to go out. You got to get your guy. We look like we have our guy, Mike. Our punter has had one punt blocked in 496 attempts. This guy, I think we found our punter. There's some other things that still have to be figured out, but the punting, I do believe we have. Mike, he had 5 punts for 284 yards, which averaged 56.8 yards a punt, and he had 2 of them inside the 20.
Yeah.
Which I think one of them you could even call it in the 10. But I am so super, super satisfied. If you walked away from that game satisfied with anything, it had to be the way that Cameron Johnston kicked the football.
Oh yeah, this is how bad we've had it the past 2 years with Presley Harvin. We're excited about a consistent punter.
Yeah, game
But
statistics.
you know what? I'll take it, man. That's one thing you don't have to worry about. And I'm not worried about that Boswell missed field goal. It was his first kick all year
I'm
in
not.
live
Yeah.
action. And then he was right back in it on the second one. And it wasn't a
Even
bad miss on that first one either. He just
hit the post.
hit the post. Had plenty
Total
of
yards in the
distance.
game, Mike. The Bills had 245 yards. The Steelers had 219. On the ground, we had 113. They had 78. I mean, so I'm sorry, that was through the air. On the ground, they had 167. We had 106. First downs was close. They had the 14-13 edge. Third down, they were 2 for 10. We were 4 for 13. We were sacked 4 times. They were sacked 3. We both punted the ball away 5 times. About equal in penalties, a total of 50 yards by each team. And the only turnover of the game was, of course, the Miles Killebrew interception. And we win the time of possession by like a minute, I think. But yeah.
Yeah, by about a minute.
Yeah, there it is, Mike. That's the game in a nutshell.
It was a sloppy game all around.
Couple things that we do want to touch on here. All right. The offensive line, I think, is obviously topic number 1 on Monday morning after this game. You got to figure out what you're doing. You got to put guys where you want them to be, and you got to play. Broderick Jones this isn't doing him any justice by bouncing him, putting him here, putting him there. And then I just think that the fact that he, didn't play as much as he would have liked to, I think that helps a little bit, or that hurts a little bit, Mike. There's not much you can do about the center position. Of course, Herbig goes out for the season with the torn rotator. Frazier jumps in there, does his thing. I think that's necessary. Just let the kid play. Ciamalo, he's not going to be a problem. But, a couple of these other positions on the line, Mike, why don't you talk about a little bit of the issues that we might have moving forward?
Yeah, real quick, I think the two that I'm okay with are definitely your 2 guards, Ciamalo and James Daniels. Center, I think Frazier will be fine. He'll have some rookie hiccups in there, but I think he's going to be just fine. The last rookies to start for the Steelers were Pouncey, Green, and Frazier. I think Frazier's going to be more of a Marquise Pouncey than a Kendrick Green. Now, my 2 biggest worries are the tackle position. I'm sorry, getting beat on a bull rush is not because you're playing on the right side instead of the left side with Broderick Jones.
He just got ran over.
He just got ran over. Like, you're a world-class athlete. You're an intelligent guy. You listen to him talk. He knows what he's doing. That's just sloppy footwork. And if you can't adapt for your left foot being your first foot back or right foot being your first foot back, then you're not a world-class athlete. You are. He can manage to mirror the side. And he's playing with a slight injury in his elbow, so he doesn't have the punch there. But that doesn't excuse the fact that you're punching wide. You should be punching hard. Like, you watch any offensive line breakdown, the quick jab to the hands. It's just sloppy technique on his part. And he just looked lost and disinterested out there.
Like the
Whereas
fact that they
last year he played what 8-9 games on the right tackle and did great.
and then you have another guy who's not going to play all preseason who's already been named the starter. I'm talking about
Yeah,
rookie Fatanu. This offensive line has some early issues.
yeah,
I think that these are things that you're gonna have to really
yeah.
try to clear up here heavily over
Well,
the next couple of weeks.
like real quick, if
Mike, it sounds
Broderick
like you have
Jones,
something else.
yeah, if Broderick Jones can't pass block on the right side, why do people want him to pass block on the left side, the blind side of the quarterback?
Yeah,
Make it make sense for me. If you want him to hone his pass rushing or pass blocking ability, why don't you do it on the right hand side? Because the footwork's not the problem. It's his hand fighting, where he positions his hands, instead using two hands instead of one hand to set up his
Mike,
blocks.
is the problems that we had offensively over the past 2 weeks? Do you think they weigh more on the offensive line or more on the quarterback play?
Ooh, ooh.
Because this is something they have to figure out, and they got to figure it out fast.
I think the second one is the second game was definitely O line. They were not giving anyone room for a pass to pass. The protection was terrible.
It was hit or miss. There was sometimes it was okay. Seen more
Yeah,
in the second half, but again, Justin Fields does have that elusiveness to where he's
yeah.
able to get out of
And
situations where Russell Wilson didn't. Russell
and
Wilson looked very Kenny Pickett like in those
oh yeah,
situations.
yeah,
So again, where are we at? Where do we stand
yeah.
at this point?
Yeah,
Like I do want to. Yeah, go
Russ,
ahead.
real quick, Russ did look timid in the pocket. You know how
And
most quarterbacks bounce
yeah,
on their feet around, sliding, move, just slight little movements. He wasn't doing any of that. It felt like he was just a statue back there.
Mike, let's jump over to the defensive side of the ball. This defensive line. First, I thought I seen Larry Okunjobi miss a tackle. He had a guy in his grasp, guy broke away. A couple things early on, but you know what? As the game went on, Okunjobi did get
Mm-hmm.
himself involved in play. He started to look better.
Yeah.
Mike Keanu Benton again with the sack. He had a half a sack. I seen him pushing people around. DeMarvin Leal come in. I seen him pop up on my screen a couple times. Mike, as far as the defensive line is that's kind of more in the direction of what you want to see, right?
Yeah, I actually wrote about that over at the website. That's one of the things I was surprised about was the play and the depth of that D line because that felt like an under the radar story. Like not many people outside of us have been talking about the depth on the D line, and those guys played well. Like he's Ogunjobi, yeah, he missed that tackle, but that was a nice way to break it up in the field. You can just hope
Yeah.
regular season, we get our starting linebackers in there. They clean that up right away. But yeah, he was making plays in the backfield. Keanu Benton, that DeMarvin Leal, when he lined up at DN and just flew through like he was a linebacker, was a thing of beauty. Travius Adams was playing well. Dean Lowry, who was finally seeing action, we brought in as a free agent, he was disruptive. So we're starting to see some of that depth come in. Now these are veterans that are playing well behind the starters. That's good. I'm still not impressed with Isaiah Loudermilk. I think he's just a big body out there that doesn't do a whole lot. But outside of him, I like the way that D line played. That's one thing that gave me confidence going forward with this defense. That D line play, and we did Cam the Sham didn't even play. So
Yeah.
get him out there if he can play
They had everybody
decent. We'll be
dressed. They
good.
had TJ dressed prior to the game. They had Cam dressed
Yeah,
prior to the game. They made last minute decisions to not play
yeah.
those veterans. I'm sure we'll see them a little bit more next week as we try to fine tune to wrap up the preseason against the Detroit Lions at Ford Field on Saturday at 1 o'clock. Um, and then we will start getting ready for the Atlanta Falcons. Mike, a couple of things here. So Broderick Jones, he gets blown up. He declines to talk to the media after the game. And the one thing that was noted was he says he needs to see a doctor. Do you know any up to date on Broderick Jones at the moment?
Yeah, he's been battling an elbow injury all preseason, and that's affecting the way his punch strength in those blocks to disrupt that pass rush, and that might be why he's using both hands when he goes to punch instead of using your closest hand to
Yeah.
your when you're positioned the closest one to him. That might be why he's doing that, and maybe they're playing him because they know Fatanu is still out with his injury. Because this sounds like an injury where he shouldn't be practicing or playing in the preseason as much. That's just shaking his confidence. That shouldn't be an excuse. Everyone plays hurt, but
It's
he
football.
needs to figure it out. He, like I said, he seems like a smart guy. You know, offensive linemen are not dumb. This guy should be able to figure it out, and that's what's frustrating, man. This guy was, yeah, supposed to be raw, but supposed
I
to be a
don't know.
freak of nature, and we're
He
you
doesn't
know,
seem too bright to me. But anyway,
like for me right now. He's on that Chase Claypool watch. He had that great
yeah.
7, 8, 9 games at the end of the year, and not doing well right now.
Like, let me continue on the injury list here. Broderick Jones, of course, with that. Nate Herbig, as we talked about earlier, has a torn rotator. That is a season-ending injury for nasty
Losing
Nate.
depth.
Losing depth. Jalen Warren out 2 to 4 weeks with the hammy.
That's concerning.
And you just never know with these hammies anymore.
They
We
can
seen
linger,
last year that a
man.
hammy could linger, and it was quite some time. So we're not going to have him to start out the season, which is a bummer. Peyton Wilson goes out with a concussion. He'll be fine. Um, so Mike, we have one preseason game left.
Yeah.
How much progress do you think we can make here over these next couple of weeks? Because again, once this one's over, we're ready for Atlanta, and the games that matter
Yeah.
are on. And here's the thing: you can't exactly get off to a slow start figuring you're going to make it up later,
No,
because the
we're
second
not.
half of our schedule is possibly the most difficult second half of the schedule in the league. I think that anybody could argue that. So what needs to be done between now and Atlanta to resemble somewhat of a football team compared to what we came out with the past couple years? Like I said, Mike, there's a lot of similarities, and it's kind of scaring me.
Yeah. One of the things that's given me comfort is last year this offense was clicking at a high level in the preseason and it stumbled out the gates. So I'm hoping for the reverse of that. Just a little growing pains, and then they kick it in once regular season starts. But I think for me, it comes back on this offensive line. They just need to play a sound, sound football, man. A sound couple drives in this last game to give the quarterbacks time so we can see truly what we have back there. See if Russell Wilson still has it. See if last year wasn't his swan song. You know, it to me, yeah, it's the O line, and that can make a big jump. They just need to clean some things up, and they can do it because they were running a lot of the same plays. They executed some, didn't execute the others. Just that consistency on that line, and they showed it last year. They can do it. And you replaced one guy, Roger Jones. Get your head right, and that team's that unit will flow. So they can clean that up. That's going to set up a lot of success on that offense and defense. You get Watt and Highsmith back out there. That's going to solve some issues too.
I mean, granted, we were playing, a couple familiar faces, Mitch Trubisky and then
Oh
also Ben
yeah,
DiNucci. So I mean, we weren't exactly up against great competition,
no,
but what the secondary was able to do with that, I thought was very good. I was satisfied with the secondary. I have not yet once have heard Dante Jackson's name be called, which is a good thing.
yeah,
When you're a corner, a lot of times it's better that you don't hear your name
uh
called.
huh,
The fact that Joey Porter or Dante Jackson, I don't think were called, once during the game. I think that's encouraging. I thought that Minka was Minka out there doing Minka things. I thought our safeties looked good. I thought KZ looked good. I thought Deshaun Elliott. I think the secondary, but again, this is going up a bit against Mitch Trubisky
yeah,
and against Ben DiNucci. Still a lot of questions to be answered, but from what I'm seeing, it appears that this defense is going to be a big part of this football team this year again. I think that the special teams are going to be a big part of this thing, and it seems like the offense at this point, and this could change a million times. It just feels like this offense is going to be the part that's limping going into the regular season, Mike. And is that a surprise? Or, as I said, from the moves we made in the offseason, are you a little bit disappointed what you're seeing so far? Or are you okay? And you're like, well, you know what? It's preseason. Let's see how it plays out in the regular season. Where do you stand with where it's all at right now?
with the offense, I am disappointed. Especially like I said, man, that line the second half of the year was playing some of the best offensive line football we saw. A lot of people were talking it up, especially after we got Fatano. Like you plug him at left or right, that line should get even better. And then Frazier and there, that line should be so much better. That's where I'm disappointed at
But on the other
quarterback
end,
play.
like, these guys are rookies,
Yeah, they're rookies,
you
but
know?
Frazier's playing well, So I'm just disappointed, man, because we on paper both quarterbacks were better than the ones that we had. So
Our
it's
results are
disappointing.
worse than
Yeah,
what we had, you
yeah.
know?
The offensive coordinator, when he was an offensive coordinator before he was a head coach, had those 2 seasons in Tennessee were a pretty damn good offense. Top 10 offense in scoring and yardage, and we're not seeing it. So
Yeah.
that's very disappointing.
That's the only thing that I'm kind of really going on is maybe, just maybe, we're just getting glimpses of what the offense is going to be.
Yeah,
But I just, Mike, I can't make my mind think that it's going to change and do a
overnight.
complete 180 and we're going to be okay and things are going to be clicking on all cylinders once Atlanta comes, once we go to Denver. I mean, it's, you know, it feels a lot like the past couple years, but you're kind of hoping since you
Yeah,
change things that that's not going to be the
yeah.
result.
And then like you hear reports out of practice, especially the joint practice we had against Buffalo. The offense was moving. The offense, like Broderick Jones was eating up Gregory Rousseau. And then Rousseau comes out in the game and destroys them. The offensive line couldn't block. The quarterbacks didn't look that good. But yet, in all these practices, the offense is moving and clicking. So it's like they can execute there when their hands being held by the coaching staff. When they go out there on their own, they're falling apart a little bit. It sounds like it just needs to be cleaned up,
Let
and
me ask you
the
this,
offense can
Mike.
move.
We've gone 2/3 of the preseason and our starting team, our offense, our starting offense, our starting quarterbacks, whichever one, it doesn't matter. You could go either way. This point that I'm about to make, neither team or neither one of these starting quarterbacks have led the Steelers to a scoring drive, not through by way of field goal, not by way of touchdown, not by way of anything. Like 2/3 of the way through the
Yeah,
preseason, I think this might be past the coaches seeing what they needed to see, and maybe just maybe start trying to figure out ways to win football games. I understand not punting the ball. I
yeah,
understand for not kicking the field goals. I understand what they were doing in the last game, and it wasn't a football game. It was an
yeah,
abbreviated or a extended practice, of course.
yeah,
And you're watching this, and you know that and you're like, we could have totally been 9-9, and then even
yeah,
if Boswell made that field goal, we could have possibly win this game. Anyway, that's besides the point because what I'm saying is we've already been to that point to where all right, let's put them out there. Let's see what we have. I think this week is going to be pretty big, Mike, on for a couple of reasons. You're playing a good Detroit team, so your
yeah,
starters are going to come out playing against good starters for Detroit. That could be a concern. Two, you don't want to make it through the whole way through the preseason with scoring no points with your first team offense. So that there are big question marks. Mike, where are we? Where are we at in your mind with this team?
yeah.
Where are we at? What's going on? What's your feel? What do you
I
have a
think
feel?
I think
I have
that
no
first team.
feel.
I think that first team offense does not come off the field in Detroit until they score points.
Yeah.
They were only supposed to be out there for like what 2 drives. Tomlin kept throwing that first team back out there the first quarter. You can tell he was pissed. He was pissed, talking to
You
Russ
can't
and
produce a point.
yeah, he was he no, they had that timeout. He was not yelling, but you can tell he was not very happy the way he was talking to Artie Smith
He's
and
giving it
Russ
to Artie
Wilson.
Smith. Yeah.
Yeah, you can tell Tomlin's not fucking around this year. I like to see that. He's not happy. When coach isn't happy, your ass is going to be out there until you start playing well. And that's the last thing you want to do as a starter is be stuck out there in that preseason game.
And the one thing that you're going to hear consistently is don't panic. It's preseason. Don't panic,
You
Mike.
can still
Mike,
panic.
Mike, don't
You can
panic.
panic. I'm allowed
Listen,
to
and I'm
panic.
going to tell you why you can panic because our offense, our starting offense, again, either quarterback you go with, you could mark them as your starting offense as long as in the first half of these games we scored
0 points.
points. Zero. I mean, at some point you got to be able to score something. Mike.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
It's
it could be a
bad.
lot worse. We could have Kenny back there. I don't know. Would it be worse? I don't know.
Uh, yeah,
We
it
don't
would.
know yet.
It would.
I sure hope not. One thing,
Kenny Pickett's become a folk hero again by sitting on the bench as a third stringer and as an Eagles quarterback.
you know what I did see? I seen that they would put up on down in Denver during their game. They would put up on their screen every time Russell Wilson got sacked, and they would
Oh
all
God.
cheer down there. So I guess
That,
they're cheering that the fact that they're paying him to not
yeah,
be
they're
good.
paying him $35 billion a year to get sacked 3 times in the preseason. That's something to be happy about as a fan base.
But if you're paying him and he's on your team to get sacked 3 times, that's not so bad. If he goes on
It's not so
another
bad.
team and he gets sacked 3 times, hey, you know what? That might help us out down the long run. But one other thing that is guaranteed, Mike, during a Steeler game is the fact that Danny Smith is going to be chewing bubble gum and a lot of it. You know what was funny about this, Mike? The fact that Pompiani even brought it up during the game.
Yeah.
He was like, and the defense is doing this and the offense is doing this, blah, blah, blah. And then there's Danny Smith chewing his gum, and you look over and he's just shoving his mouth full with gum. You gotta love it. That was something again. If you're pulling from this game of things that you did that was satisfying, I think beside the play of Keanu,
Yeah.
maybe Danny Smith's gum chewing might be right up there with it.
I used to be a big Danny Smith hater. But the longer he has stuck around in Pittsburgh, the more I have fallen in love with this old guy. I love him. He's great. He's a psychopath.
Yeah.
He's like that coach you would literally run through a wall for this guy.
Yeah.
I love Danny Smith.
Mike, let
And
me
I
ask
love
you.
me some Keanu Benton.
Say you're the offensive coordinator, you're Mike Tomlin, whoever, and you got to sit down this week and decide who you're starting. Say you had to pick your starting quarterback today
Mm-hmm.
going into the season. Who would it be right now?
Justin Fields.
I mean, Russell Wilson didn't do anything, right? Am I
No,
wrong? Did he
no,
did,
he
did
didn't do
he
anything.
did he look
He
like Kenny Pick? I mean, come on. I mean, this was
he
Kenny
looked
Pick.
bad back there. He looked really bad. No pocket awareness.
Which
Excuse
is
me.
so
Yeah, but no,
weird. The
yeah,
guy's
it,
a, I
it
don't
was
know,
bad.
he's a Super
Uh,
Bowl champion.
yeah, and like last year, numbers were good. Film wasn't the greatest, but he was still out there moving around, making plays. And those 4 series, 5 series that he played, he did not look good. So I would go with Justin Fields because in practice Russ was looking good, but then he goes out onto the field and it's not matching that performance. So you have to take both into consideration. You can have great practices and go out there and lay an egg. You can have terrible practices and go out there and perform. I want the guy who's going to perform on Sundays. And right now it's looking like Justin Fields. I'll take some boneheaded plays from Fields, but I know like he has the abilities to make plays with his
The
legs
thing that
and with
scares me
his
about
arm.
him, if it comes down to a game where where everything is just, it's fourth quarter, you got to drive the
Yeah.
ball down the field without losing it via turnover. You have to
Mm-hmm.
get your team in position, and there's a lot of work that goes on right here between the ears. Is Justin Fields the quarterback that can do that? Can he step back in
Mm.
week 17 when things are on the line? Can he do that in the playoffs when it's do or die, win or go home? Can he be the guy that steps up to the line, looks around, surveys the defense, makes the necessary adjustments, and is able to execute
Yeah.
and do these things and help the football team win? Mike, is Justin Fields, does he possess that?
You saw it in college where he would rise to the occasion.
Kenny
In the
Pickett
pros,
was a runner. He almost
yeah,
won the Heisman Trophy, Mike. Just
yeah,
remember that. Okay.
yeah. And then like Fields too, he's shown in the pros that he can lead drives, but also he's shown too that he'll walk onto a receiver and eat the sack or throw a pick because he's locked in on a guy. So there's a lot with him. It's depends on what Justin you're getting in that moment, not just the game or the day in that moment. So it's hard to tell with him because he's been all over in his career where he's had games where he's been locked in and other games where he's like, I'm just going to stare at my receivers down.
And the
So,
Russell Wilson I seen yesterday was the
oof,
Russell Wilson that I seen last year when I sat down and watched the Broncos game on a week that we weren't playing, something like this. And that is exactly what he looked like. That was the Russell Wilson. And I came to you and I said, Mike, it's crazy that this guy went from this winning Super Bowls
yeah,
to basically turning into a shell of his former self. A lot of checkdowns, a lot of these 3 yard
mm-hmm.
passes. I got to see more out of Russell Wilson, Mike. I have to see more. And at this point, you wouldn't think there would be Artie Smith saying, "Okay, we'll just go out, go vanilla," because you need to. You got to see who's ready to, be
Yeah.
your starting quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
It's up for grabs at this point. I don't think that it should be, but it is up for grabs. I don't think either one of these guys are really doing much for themselves to put themselves ahead of the pack. However, if you do pick somebody, I think just for the fact that something does happen when he's out there, is Justin Fields. That's who I would
Yeah.
go with at this moment if I had to pick my starter. Again, we have one more game to decide, Mike. But again, it's not as good as people here in Pittsburgh thought it was going
No,
to be with
no,
this quarterback situation.
no. And especially the line play in front of him too. But I thought Fields looks more comfortable back there, more in command of the offense
Yeah,
than
I would
than
agree.
Russ did. You can tell Fields and the receivers have been working a lot in camp together. You know, Russ missed time in practice. You can see Fields has that connection with Pickens. He's developing one with Van Jefferson. So he's comfortable with the his going to be his 2 main targets. I'd keep him out there. Just keep him out there. He looks more in command than Russ, and that's huge.
So of course we are going to be depending heavily on the defense again this year. There's no reason to think that they shouldn't be any good. I think we made some upgrades on the defensive side of the ball. Hopefully that keeps us in games, Mike. The special teams, as we mentioned earlier, I think that keeps us in games. The offense is the one thing that you're going to want to see some big time improvements, which is nothing new. It's been the story here for quite a few years. New names, new faces, new schemes, and we're seeming to get the same results. But we have one more game, Mike, in the preseason against Detroit. The Steelers did manage to pull in a 64,727 attendance amount of people that came to the game on Saturday night. Must have been a great time. Mike, and here's one other thing about how bad the Steelers offense was. That night on Saturday night, the Pittsburgh Pirates outscored the Steelers 7-3 as they had 7 runs in their game against the Mariners. The Steelers managing only 3, who gets
Oh,
multiple points for every time they score. And
yeah.
the Pirates, of course, only get 1. So if that's not enough to rub it in, there you go. Pittsburgh Pirates outperforming across the parking lot. The Steelers on Saturday, Mike.
Blow this team up. Fire Omar Khan. Am I doing it right?
There you go. But there you have. You know what, Mike? We do have to do quick grades, because we do have other things to get in before we wrap up the show. Mike, quick grades: A, B, C, D, F. You know how it goes.
Yep.
Quarterback position, Mike. How did these quarterbacks grade for you on Saturday?
Incomplete. They're gonna get an
I,
incomplete.
I give it a C. And the reason I'm going to give it a C, 11 for 17, 8 for 10. When it came down to it, they completed passes. The overall play of the quarterbacks was not too thrilled with. I'm leaning toward Justin Fields at this point. Mike, I got to give the guys a C.
That's
Running
fair. That's fair.
running backs, Mike.
Mm, mm.
Now our starters,
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a C.
4 for 17 by Harrison, 1 for 1 by Warren. That's
Yeah,
5 carries for 18 yards.
yeah, it's not good, but I'm gonna give a C overall because that line play was bad.
I got to agree with you, Mike. The line is certainly made. They're going to form other people's grades. No two ways about
Yep.
it. So the running backs, I felt that they did average at best. They had a couple of these guys that aren't going to make the team look pretty good late in the game. But again, you're playing guys that are going to be in the XFL next year. So that's your level of competition. Let's move on. My tight end, Pat Freiermuth, did have a catch. I
Yeah.
think Big Washington, he had a penalty. Mike, what do you give these tight ends for the week?
I'm gonna go C plus. Connor Hayward had a couple nice catches.
He
Muth
did.
had. Washington had that penalty, but Washington was just a beast again on that O line. Maybe
Such a
we should play
monster.
him at right tackle
Yeah.
until Roger
Yeah.
Jones figures it out.
His big ass body, he might be all right.
Jesus.
Wide receivers, Mike. The wide receivers didn't do bad. I think the one guy that
No.
stopped in the end zone on that
Yeah.
on the possible touchdown might have been my only complaint at this point. Jefferson running backwards for a second, but again, he could redeem himself by never ever doing it again.
Yeah.
Where Van Jefferson, started to go backwards. He pulled the Deontay Johnson. But Mike, what do you give these receivers?
I'm gonna go with a B.
Okay.
Yeah, outside of the dude who's not going to be on the roster, stopping in the end zone.
Yeah.
I thought they did well. Fan, yeah, he had that run backwards, but I like the way he played overall. I like the way George played. I
like
still
the way they-
maintain
I like the
George
way they
caught
catch
that ball.
everything.
You one-handed catches in the middle of the field is fine, but apparently not on the sidelines. You're not allowed to have a one-handed catch with both feet in bounds. That's
I'm
not
glad
possession.
that Tomlin challenged it.
Yeah.
It's again, it's preseason. Use your challenges. Let's get
Yeah.
back on track. But of course, that was incomplete, Mike. I'm going to give these receivers. I'm going to give them a C. And here's what they did good. They catch the ball. I like that. You don't have guys dropping the ball in the middle of the field. You don't have stupid things like this. I'm happy that these guys are catching the football. We've seen this problem in the past where they didn't. We fixed it. Here we are. And again, I think their numbers weren't high because again, you're having all kind of issues. Line, quarterback, all this is going on.
Yeah.
Mike, to the offensive line, I got to get a grade. I know you don't like it, and I know that I watched the game with you, and I'm very confident that this is going to be a good grade. But Mike, what do you give the O line?
Oh, that's a D minus there.
Yeah.
D minus. I'm not going to give them an F because there are some individual performances that were well, but especially that first team. Oh, they
I
were.
thought that guard that we got in the draft played good.
McCormick played well. Like McCormick's playing well. who's the other guy we got last year in the draft? Oh my
Spencer
god,
Anderson.
Spencer Anderson. Yeah, I thought he's playing well. So for all the flack that the O line coach is getting because Broderick Jones can't pass block, what about all these other young guys that are coming along nicely? Yeah, D minus man. Broderick Jones get it together. Once he gets it together, this O line can flourish.
All right, Mike, we got to turn the ball over. Defensive line, Larry Ogunjobi, Keanu Benton, you know the crew. What do you
Yeah.
give these guys?
I right now I'm just going to grade the first team D line. I thought they played well. I'm going to give them a B. I know we gave up a lot of rushing yards later in the game, but I those guys were disruptive.
All right. Linebacking core. What can you say about these guys? They're all over the place. Nick Herbig, Mark
Mm-hmm.
Robinson. And then, of course, that's not even mentioning your starters who, if you did catch the beginning of the game, Landon Roberts and Patrick Queen were all over the place. I'm
Yeah,
satisfied, Mike, with what this linebacking core does. What do you give these grades,
I'm gonna
these
get
guys, as far as a grade?
B plus. B plus overall. It took a while for Patrick Queen to settle down. Like that
Yeah.
first series, it looked like he was overrunning the play a little bit. But once he settled down, him and Landon Roberts and um our boy Wilson, he was playing well too.
Yeah. Mike, next on the list, the
Peyton Wilson, I
DBs.
forgot his name.
DBs. What do you give these DBs? I'm
Oh,
talking safeties, corners. We got to see a little Cam Sutton at the corner, third quarterback position, the nickel. Mike, what do you give these DBs for the game the other night against Buffalo?
I'm gonna go with an A. You know,
Right. Well, let's
yeah,
listen. Leave it at that because we're going to give
A.
an A where we can. Because
Yeah,
once we're facing Josh Allen and guys like this, it might
yeah, that
change.
might be a different.
But facing Mitch Trubisky and Ben
Yeah,
DiNucci, let's give him an A. Let's leave it at that.
yeah.
Okay.
They did have that long 27-yard pass, but those things happen in the NFL.
Special teams, Mike. Kicking, punting,
Mm.
field goal, return. What do you give the special teams?
You know what? Boz may have had that miss, but I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go with the B plus.
I'm saying you can't go bad. You can't listen. You can't give them worse than last week. Quez
Yeah,
Watkins messing up that return, calling the punt fair catch early. A couple things like
yeah,
this, I think, automatically makes this
yeah,
game better. Add uh add our punter kicking 65-yard kicks.
yeah.
Add Boswell finally, he's back in there where he didn't play last week. So you do have things going right for you. I'm happy. I'm satisfied with the special teams, Mike. How about coaching, game plan, coordinators, strategy, execution? Mike, what do you give these coaches?
I'm gonna go with the C minus. It was a sloppy game, especially on that O line. But the defense did their part, special teams did their part, but the offense, that was just sloppy.
I like to see Mike Tomlin getting in Artie Smith's
Yep.
ass. That was
Yeah.
one thing that I was satisfied. I'm glad to see it. You don't see it enough on this Mike Tomlin coach team. I want to see more of it. And I think he wants to, there's talk, and it's not that he might lose his job, but there's talk about just people being dissatisfied with
Yeah.
Mike Tomlin after having all these years of non-losing football. And people hear things, people read things, people have social
Mm-hmm.
media, people know. Um, I think that was a big thing, Mike, for him going after Artie Smith. I liked it. I like to see it. It's showing responsibility. It's showing that
Yeah.
he was really concerned about what goes on. And sometimes people may argue that you haven't seen that in the past with him.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike, finally, overall for the Steeler team, of course, the Steelers lose 9-3. They are sitting at 0-2 heading into the final week of preseason. Mike, what do you give this overall performance on Saturday night by the Pittsburgh Steelers?
C minus. A passing grade. Yeah, they lost the game, but there were more bright spots than bad spots, but the bad spots are in in key positions.
Yeah.
But you know, let's see.
What do you
It
want to
was a
see
C
improve
minus.
next week?
I want to see improved offensive line play from that first unit. That second unit, I like the way they play. I like the way our backups are playing against their backups. But that first unit needs to figure their shit out. This is the exact same line minus the center from last year, and he's not the problem.
Anything this week, Mike, that surprised you for the better?
The defensive line, that for me, that is the big bright spot. Because if we can get this kind of play from Ogunjobi all year long and Keanu Benton, Cam's going to go in and does what Cam does, be above average all year and have some really good games. And then those backups were nice. We have some depth there, more than we thought.
All right, Mike, we are rounding third base on the show. So that does mean one thing. We have to cover the Pittsburgh Pirates.
They
Uh,
won a game or two, so I'm happy.
well, there's something very important about the what just happened. There's one person that I know, one, one person that said that called that the Pittsburgh Pirates would lose those 10 games in a row. Mike, who was that person?
That would be you, my friend.
That's right.
You
As
you
the
called it. You
as
went
the
out on a
Pirates
limb
season,
and called it.
I did go out on a limb. And 2 weeks ago, when we beat Arizona on a Saturday night, I looked at the schedule. I seen Arizona. I seen three against San Diego, three at the Dodgers, and three at San Diego. And I said to Mike, not only did I say to Mike, I came right here. It's well documented. I said, Mike, after this game against Arizona, they are going to lose the next 10 games. As the 2 weeks went on, I made comments like, I'll be surprised if they win one. Maybe they'll win two. But I think overall, Mike, I think that we all know that I said that they were going to lose those 10 games. They did lose those 10 games exactly. The very next game, they came back. They won. They won on Friday night against the Mariners 5-3. They broke the streak. They win again on Saturday, outscoring the Steelers with a 7 run night, 7-2 over the Mariners. Sunday, they did take the L 10-3. Pirates record is at 58-65 as we speak. Andrew McCutcheon's out 10 games with a knee. Shelton and Sherrington led Pittsburgh Pirate teams have finished fifth place 4 times and fourth place 1 time. 5 years, they had 4 fifth-place finishes and 1 fourth-place finish. Bucks back at it tonight down in Texas. They have one series and then they come back home. They're down playing the Rangers tonight. They start a 3-game series. This game's at 8:05. Ortiz gets the start with a 5-3 record, a 3.41 ERA, and 71 strikeouts. The Rangers have not announced their starter, but you can watch them. They are 13 and a half games, Mike, in last place right now in the basement. 13 and a half games, 7.5 games out of the wild card. Stick a fork in them. They're done.
Oh yeah, they cooked on both sides. They are a nice, well done steak. Put some ketchup on them, boys.
And we got 6 weeks of baseball left. So if there's anybody that still cares, that's what's going on. Also, Mike, the Riverhounds, they draw a tie with the Colorado Springs Switchbacks. They tie 2-2. They play again this Saturday against Birmingham FC. And finally, before we start wrapping things up, Mike, the Indiana Fever, of course, Caitlin Clark, they've played 2 games since they've been back from the break, the USA basketball, Olympics, and then, of course, the All-Star break. They win both of those games. Friday, they win 98-89 over the Mercury. Caitlin Clark scores 29 points, 5 rebounds, 10 assists. And on Sunday, the Fever beat the Seattle Storm 92-75. Caitlin has 23 points, 5 rebounds, 9 assists. They play next on Saturday against the Minnesota Lynx. The Indiana Fever at the moment are 13-15. The Lynx are 18-8. That game is at 8 o'clock on Saturday. Mike, Caitlin Clark managed to score. She managed to give up 5 turnovers in each game, which seems to be a concern. But you know what? The team that she's playing for is not a good team. They're winning. They're winning. They're winning. She's getting 30 points. She's getting 10 assists. You know what? Maybe that's the give and take you're going to get with her. It's going to be a little bit more turnovers, almost like a Justin
Yeah,
Fields. You're getting results. You're getting numbers. You're getting wins.
yeah,
But there's always that downside because she is very aggressive when she plays, as far as her offensive style.
yeah. You see that she's starting to get some more chemistry with more players outside of Boston on that team as well, and they're starting to pick up on the way she plays too. Throwing the passes into open space, not
Yeah,
just to them, because she, like a good point guard can see, where the play is going to develop, and if you can see that faster than your teammates, you're hoping they're on the same page, and they're not. You look bad, but now that they're all getting on the same page, that offense is looking good out there.
I agree. I agree. I want to see this team make the playoffs. I think, Mike, again, 13-15. Everywhere this woman goes, they win. I am looking forward to the final stretch. Mike, I'm going to just for a moment go back to the board. LT
Yeah,
is a former football player. It's comical watching everyone overreact to a preseason game when there's new coaches, new playbook, new quarterbacks, new rookies, a hurt Broderick, not to mention Arthur Smith. He also says wasn't calling plays to win. I couldn't agree with you more,
Oh yeah.
LT. And he also says I know for a fact offensive linemen don't even play close to hard during preseason. And I agree with you 100%, LT. I'm not going to disagree with you at all. I think every point you made is valid. I just think at some point you want to kind of get a look at maybe what we're going to see as fans in the next couple of weeks as the season gets ready to take off. But on the other hand, yes, you're trying to keep it vanilla. You're trying to keep everything. You're bluffing a little bit. You don't want people to know what you're going to do. But again, is there any signs? Have you seen any signs, LT, that makes you confident and feels good about the way things are going with the new coaches, new playbook, quarterbacks, new rookies, Hurt Broderick? At the end of the day, I don't know if I'm feeling that improvement's there. I hope I'm wrong. I hope they go to Atlanta and score 30 points. That'd be fantastic. There's not, I'm not getting that vibe. I'm not getting the feel. I hope I'm wrong. Brian says 12 teams in the WNBA. I think 11 make the playoffs. Be it as it may, this woman needs to be in the playoffs for the WNBA. The WNBA, you get a gift like this, like Caitlin Clark. You got to use it. He's also continuing on. Everyone on the Fever was making threes, 155 turnovers, and I get that, and I get that. I'm not arguing. I'm just saying the WNBA needs this woman's face to be around for that league. Mike, let's go ahead and tell everybody about the website, and we will get into some trivia, man.
The2dumbyinjers.com. Head on over there, everyone. We got links to all of our social media from Ryan and I, our separate stuff, show stuff. We got the merch store over there, and we got the blog over there. I have one up there today, just recapping the quarterback battle, the D line, and what's going on with Broderick Jones all over at the2dumbyinjers.com.
Go check it out, everybody. www.the2dumbyinjers.com. That's www.the2dumbyinjers.com. A lot of cool stuff over there. I went and checked on Mike's work over the weekend. Website's looking really good. Go take a look. All right, Mike. The question of the day is this: Detroit is the opponent, so it's going to be Detroit Lions trivia this week. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Everybody on the board, play along. People at home, here we go. This question is going to be about the Detroit Lions. How many NFC championships have the Detroit Lions played in? Plain and simple. How many NFC championships have the Detroit Lions have played in? Go ahead and take a minute to think that over. We're live 5 days a week right here on YouTube, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every day. Do check us out. Also, we are working hard on getting the podcast back up in podcast form. But as of right now, we are right here on YouTube every day. All right, Mike, question of the day. Detroit Lions, Steelers' next opponent. My question for you is this: how many NFC championships have the Detroit Lions played in?
Zero.
Is that your final answer?
That's my final answer.
All right, considering they made it to the NFC championship last year against the 49ers. All right, so let's go ahead and Mike, you said zero?
I said zero.
Okay. The answer, guys, how many NFC championships have the Detroit Lions played in? 2.
Oh.
They lost to San Francisco last year.
That's right. Jesus.
And in 1991, they lost to the Redskins. I'm thinking like 45-10, something like this.
Oh, God. Yeah. Now I remember. Holy shit.
Yeah. And P on the board says, and good afternoon to you, P. P says 1 or 0. The answer, guys, is 2. It's 2. They played in 2 NFC championships. 2023, they lost to the 49ers. 1991, they lost to the then Redskins.
How soon we forget the previous season?
Brian's still answering. He says 1. I do want to announce this too, Mike. I did go over the scores for the games. I don't want to go over them until tomorrow, but you got 9 wins.
Holy shit.
Okay, so you did. You won 9 games. Your tiebreaker was 40. The amount of the tiebreaker was 12.
Well,
so
yeah,
that.
I figured both offenses would have looked a lot better. I figured Josh Allen would have been out there.
Yeah. But you did win 9, and Derpy didn't participate, which I didn't pursue him because it is preseason, Mike.
Yeah.
But it is going to be his responsibility, and I do have a big announcement tomorrow when Derpy's back for the winner of the competition throughout the year. Of course, you guys are going to go head to head on picks all season long, and I'm announcing a little bit of an incentive. So we'll do that tomorrow when Derpy will be back on the show. Um, start getting ready to wrap things up, Mike. Anything, any observations, anything you want to talk about before we start the
Yeah.
roll, man?
Uh, I know I'm bugging about the offensive line, but it's it's just we saw what they did last year, and the hopes that I had, and the step back that they're making right now. It's just disappointing, but you have to take comfort in the fact that last year they were so good that they will get it figured out. And like LT said, we're not game planning to win. We've been saying that too. Like you're going out there to see what plays work, what plays don't work, and you know I'm expecting more out of this last game. Just crisper execution coming up.
Well, this is the last one. It doesn't matter, guys. We have
Yep.
Detroit coming up on Saturday, 1 o'clock in Detroit. After that, it's go time. We'll have a week off between that and the beginning of the regular season, but then we kick off at Atlanta. Then we go to Detroit, to Denver. I'm sorry, and then finally back home in week 3. So we got we're starting to get time is not our friend at this point. If you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, and maybe having them fourth preseason game that we used to do might have helped out a little bit, trying to get figured out what we have going on. But on the other hand, Mike, Kenny was a young guy. He was a rookie. These guys are, their season. Maybe we'll be able to put things together a little bit easier going into the regular season because you do have guys that have experience opposed to what we had. So again, at this point, I'm trying to search for anything.
Yeah.
But again, yes, Mike, the offensive line, I thought the quarterback play again is something that is going to be an issue. On top of that, special teams look good, defense look good. And that's about everything that I got. Mike, the
Yeah.
time is up for our Monday show. P. Morton says preseason games are the mind killer. I don't even watch them. And that's, and I know that going in. I know,
Yeah.
we're just watching, you're basically watching the individual.
Yeah.
You're not, obviously not trying to win. When he decided to, Mike, go for it on 4th down instead of kick the field goal, you weren't upset. So, that's understood, I think.
Yeah. And like I still look at the preseason game through the lens of a regular season game half the time
Yeah.
because
So
I'm that crazy and stupid.
a lot of work to be done, guys. Season will be underway soon. Tonight, don't forget you do have the Pirates at the Rangers. That game is going to be taking place down in Texas, game 1 of 3. And we'll be back tomorrow, first thing, to do it all over again. Mike, anything else, man?
I got nothing, man. I got nothing.
I do want to say thank you to everybody for coming in to hang out with us and check us out. We appreciate each and every one of you. We really, really do. We certainly couldn't do it without you. I want to thank everybody on the board. You guys always keep things interesting. And if that's it for you, Mike.
That's all I got, brother.
All right. Say thank you so much to everybody. And again, we'll be back tomorrow, same time, to do it all over again. For Mike in the Steeler Central Mobile Studio, myself, the two dumb Yinzers. Everybody have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.